Hi guys, today we are going to start our new read aloud. It is The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. I posted a journal on Google Classroom asking you what you thought it'd be about. I heard lots of different ideas of what we thought. Some thought maybe he's going to go find his family. Some of you thought maybe he's lost. Some created new characters in your journal prompts. So I am super excited for you to find out what it's about. Today we are just reading chapter 1, and this book is a lot bigger than a normal chapter book. I'll show you how the words are spread out on the page. So here is chapter 1. Looks like a girl holding something. And chapter 1 looks like this. So the words are a lot bigger, the book is a lot bigger. All right, it says, once in a house on Egypt Street, there lived a rabbit who was made almost entirely of china. He had china arms, and china legs, and china paws, and china head, a china torso, and a china nose. His arms and legs were jointed and joined by wire, so that his china elbows and china knees could be bent, giving him much freedom and movement. So china is a very delicate type of glass. So when people have really fancy dishes, they're made of china. So it's very delicate little glass. So this rabbit is made of very delicate glass. His ears were made of real rabbit fur, and beneath the fur there were strong bendable wires which allowed the ears to be arranged into poses that reflected the rabbit's mood. Jaunty, tired. His tail, too, was made of real rabbit fur and was fluffy and soft and well-shaped. So I get a really good picture so far of what this rabbit looks like. The rabbit's name was Edward Tulane, and he was tall. He measured almost 3 feet from the tip of his ears to the tip of his feet. His eyes were painted with penetrating and intelligent blue. In all, Edward Tulane felt himself to be an exceptional specimen. Only his whiskers gave him pause. They were long, elegant, as they should be, but they were uncertain of origin. Edward felt quite strongly that they were not the whiskers of a rabbit. Whom the whiskers had belonged to intentionally, what unsavory animal, was a question that Edward could not bear to consider for too long. So his whiskers are from a different type of animal, and he wants to know what animal. And so he did not. He preferred, as a rule, not to think unpleasant thoughts. Edward's mistress was a 10-year-old dark-haired girl named Abilene Tulane, who thought almost as highly of Edward as Edward thought of himself. Each morning after she dressed herself for school, Abilene dressed Edward. The china rabbit was in possession of an extraordinary wardrobe composed of handmade silk suits and custom shoes fashioned from the finest leather and designed specifically for his rabbit feet, and a wide array of hats equipped with holes so that they could easily fit over Edward's large and expensive ears. Each pair of well-cut pants had a small pocket for Edward's gold pocket watch. Abilene found this watch for him each morning. "Now, Edward," she said to him as she was done winding up the watch, "when the big hand is on the 12 and the little hand is on the 3, I will come home to you." She placed Edward on a chair in the dining room and positioned the chair so that Edward was looking out the window and could see the path that lit up the Tulane front door. Abilene balanced the watch on his left leg. She kissed the tip of his ears, and then she left, and Edward spent the day staring out at Egypt Street, listening to the tick of his watch and waiting. All of the seasons of the year, the rabbit most preferred winter, for the sun set early then, and the dining room windows became dark, and Edward could see his own reflection in the glass. And what a reflection it was! What an elegant figure his cut! Edward never ceased to be amazed at his own fineness. In the evening, Edward sat at the dining room table with the other members of the Tulane family, Abilene, her mother, and her father, and Abilene's grandmother, who was called Pellegrina. True, that Edward's ears barely cleared the tabletop, and true also, he spent the duration of the meal staring straight ahead at nothing but the bright, blinding white of the tablecloth. But he was there, a rabbit, at the table. Abilene's parents found it charming that Abilene considered Edward real, and that she sometimes requested that phrase of the story be repeated because Edward had not heard it. Papa would say, "I'm afraid that Edward didn't catch that last bit." Abilene's father would then turn in the direction of Edward's ears and speak slowly, repeating what he just said for the benefit of the china rabbit. Edward pretended out of courtesy to listen, but in truth he was not very interested in what people had to say, and also he did not care for Abilene's parents and their condescending manner towards him. All adults, in fact, condescended to him. So it seems to me that adults don't think Edward's real, but kids like Abilene do think Edward's real. And that's why Edward does not like adults right now. Only Abilene's grandmother spoke to him as Abilene did, as one equal to another. Pellegrina was very old. She had a large, sharp nose and bright black eyes that shone like dark stars. It was Pellegrina who was responsible for Edward's existence. It was she who had commissioned his making, she who had ordered his silk suits and his pocket watch and his jaunty hats and his bendable ears and his fine leather shoes and his jointed arms and legs, all from the master craftsman in her native France. It was Pellegrina who had given him as a gift to Abilene on her 7th birthday. And it was Pellegrina who came each night to tuck Abilene into her bed and Edward into his bed. "Will you tell us a story, Pellegrina?" Abilene asked her grandmother each night. "Not tonight, lady," said Pellegrina. "When?" asked Abilene. "What night?" "Soon," said Pellegrina. "Soon there will be a story." And then she turned off the light, and Edward and Abilene lay in the dark of the bedroom. "I love you, Edward," Abilene said each night after Pellegrina had left. She said those words, and then she waited, almost as if she expected Edward to say something in return. Edward said nothing. He said nothing because, of course, he could not speak. He lay in his small bed next to Abilene's large bed. He stared up at the ceiling and listened to the sound of her breath entering and leaving her body, knowing that soon she would be asleep. Because Edward's eyes were painted on and he could not close them, he was always awake. Sometimes if Abilene put him into his bed on his side instead of his back, he could see through the cracks in the curtains and out into the dark night. On clear nights the stars shone, and their pinprick light comforted Edward in a way that he could not quite understand. Often he stared at the stars all night until the dark finally gave way to dawn. So that is chapter 1. Chapter 1 was very interesting. It kind of told us a little bit about the characters. We have Edward and Abilene. We have the grandmother, and then we have the parents. And so all the people are real except Edward. Edward is this china, very fragile toy that the grandma gave to Abilene. And so Edward can't blink, he can't move or talk, but he can hear everything that's going on. And Abilene thinks that he can really hear everything that's going on. So we're going to read chapter 2 soon. And what I want you guys to do is get out a piece of paper and either write or draw a picture of what you think Edward looks like, what you think he looks like from what we described. And if you don't want to draw Edward, I'll let you draw what you think either the grandmother or what you think Adeline looks like. I'll let you can pick any of them. I think Edward would probably be the easiest for you though. So get out a piece of paper and write or draw what you think Edward looks like. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.